Journey into a world where the art of fly tying transcends time, preserving the intricate legacy of its greatest masters. Each meticulously crafted fly, a testament to unparalleled skill and innovative design, awaits your discovery. This is the Masters Fly Tyers Archives.
I developed the Haystack series of flies back when I was in high school, 48 and 49. So that fly's been around for many, many years. I have many customers over the years that use nothing but haystacks. They claim you can imitate just about any fly with a haystack pattern. All you have to do is vary the color of the hair and the color of the body. For example, I'm going to be tying one right now that imitates an insect that's coming off the stream now, the March brown. So I will use a brown, light brown, deer-colored bottled deer hair for the wing and the tail, and I will use kind of a tannish cream color for the body. And I'm going to, again, when you start this fly, you wind just ahead of the eye and wind the hook, cover the complete shank of the hook all the way back to the bend of the hook. If you do not cover that shank of the hook, your material will turn on the hook, and it will not adhere good. Now this fly, as I said, I invented back in late 1948, 49. I was still in school. And it was later copied, many years later, it was copied and called a comparadon. The only thing they did different was to split the tail. And when they did that, they took away a lot of the floatability of the fly, so it doesn't set on the water correctly. But this fly is made so it sets in the surface film. And the fly is also designed so that you can skitter the fly like an insect on the water. It imitates a don, the first stage of a mayfly that comes off the water, and it also imitates a spent spinner. So it's a very versatile fly. All you have to do is change the color of the body and the hair, and you can imitate almost any insect that comes off the water. I try thousands of these each year, and I say many customers of mine use nothing but haystacks for the whole season. I tie the tail on first, then I come back, and this is where many people make a mistake in tying the haystack pattern. They bring your thread back here like that, close to the eye, and tie it 2/3 of the way back from the tail. That is incorrect. The fly will not float properly, not balance properly if you do that. So I'm going to back that thread off, and that wing, the hair that constitutes the wing of the fly, should set almost, not quite, almost dead center. It's a little bit closer to the eye than it is to the bend of the hook. But that's where you want it. Now I'm going to take another clump of hair, like that. This is ordinary deer hair. And I'm going to lay it on top of the hook, like that. And I'm going to come around loose with it once, twice, and then I'm going to tighten it, like that. And as I tighten it, you see that it flares out. You continue to hold it with your left hand so it can't get away from you. And as it flares out, you hold that butt section up and you clip it. Clip it like that. The next step is to take the hair with your fingers, thumb and fingers, and to make the wraps in front of it so that it stands up. You don't want it to stand completely vertical. You want it to angle back a little bit toward the eye of the hook. This balances the fly and makes it, the wings makes it look like a more natural insect that's floating on the surface, almost directly like that. Now you've got the tail and you've got the wing of the fly. I'm making an imitation for a March brown right now, so I'll imitate that body of the color of the March brown with light, kind of a tannish color. If I were tying this fly to imitate Hendrickson, I would use a dun color, probably a muskrat fur, to imitate the dun of the Hendrickson. If I were tying this fly to imitate the red male spinner of the Hendrickson, I would use a reddish Australian possum, very similar to what I use for the all-sable wolf. I'm imitating the male spinner of the Hendrickson. So you see, you can imitate just about any fly by changing the body color. And if I tie a light Cahill, instead of using the darker deer hair, I use a deer hair that's more lighter like that. So that you can, like I say again, you can imitate just about any fly that comes off the water by tying with a haystack pattern. It's a very, very versatile fly. Again, I ship these like the all-sable wolf. I ship these all over the world. And I have customers that claim that they use nothing but haystacks and Ausable wolves. And I would say that on the Ausable River, from the beginning of the fly season, which is the first week in May, it's very rare that you can't go out there with an Ausable wolf or a haystack pattern and catch fish. In fact, you would take nothing with you in the fly box. 90% of the time you would catch fish on those two flies. Another thing that makes those two flies, both the wolf and the haystack, so productive, it's very skitterable. You can skitter that fly on the surface, make it move, and it's durable and floats well enough so you won't drag it under. By keeping your rod tip up, you skitter that fly, and you imitate an insect coming off the water or a mayfly that's coming back down and laying the eggs in the water. Now you notice when I finished tying that, I took my thumb and finger and I spayed that hackle out to 180 degrees. There's no hackle on the bottom, so the fly sets right in the surface film. And looking at it from underneath, that's what the trout sees, like that. The body of the fly and the wings coming off from each side. They don't see that on the top. So it looks just like a spent spinner or a mayfly that's a dun that's coming off the water. In fact, a little lesson here to be learned as I'm tying this fly, and I do this in all my seminars. I explain to people, especially to beginning fly fishermen, that you're reading all the old books from years back. They tell you on classic trout streams to fish a dead drift by letting that fly just dead drift in the river. When you're fishing pocket water, like water on the Ausable, or any ripples, if you move that fly, you're going to catch twice as many fish. Now, it's all common sense. When a fly comes off the water, they're struggling to get in the air. And when a spinner comes back to lay their eggs on the water, they're dipping their eggs down in the water. They're also moving. And by moving your fly, you're imitating the actual insect movement, but not only that, you're drawing attention to that fly. If there's half a dozen other flies floating in the film, when you move that correctly, that trout is going to key in on the one that's moving. So there's a real good reason why you should fish the fly with a slight skittering movement. That fly sets in water like that. That's a haystack that imitates a March brown. The Hendrickson. That's tied with a gray muskrat body. Same hair, but gray muskrat body. One of them is a Hendrickson imitation. The haystacks are all tied the same style.